Hello, friend, and welcome to Borgcast Original Series 1.10 with Miri and Peter.
Hello!
We have some last time from Dagger of the Mind.
Yes, we've heard from Andy. I saw the Andy signal being lit, so came running with some information on logs. No, not those logs. For that, you need to see a proctologist. But captains and ship's logs. Do real navies use them? Yes, but not how we see them in Star Trek.
Okay.
The ship's log is used to record various information, including the date, the ship's position, the weather, visibility, sea states, etc., etc., since primarily the log is used to keep a track of where the ship has been, and in the event of an incident, the conditions leading up to it.
Okay, fair enough.
They might include notes about orders, or if something strange has happened, but in general they wouldn't be a running commentary on the thoughts and feelings like we hear on Star Trek. If anything, what Kirk is doing is recording the captain's journal, and now I have an image of Kirk lying on his bed drawing little hearts all over the eyes. It might be of interest that the reason they employ the captain's log in Trek is to provide an exposition dump and to bring the viewer up to speed with the situation, in the same way as the opening crawls in Star Wars, which is why they would often be at the beginning of an episode and right after the commercial break. There we are. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
So tonight's episode is Miri, which gives you some idea.
Captain's log, stardate 2713.5. We have made an astonishing discovery. A planet which apparently is an exact duplicate of the Earth.
Don't hurt me, please. It's already starting. I knew it would. It'll spread all over you, and you'll yell, and you'll try to hurt everybody, and then you'll die.
This is the vaccine?
It could be a beaker full of death.
Written by Adrian Spies. It's the only Trek episode written by him. And probably
Good.
Just as well. The episode's dialogue was extensively rewritten by Stephen W. Karabatsos, the series script consultant, apparently. Directed by Vincent McKevity. Again, this is third of 6 episodes, having directed the previous episode and broken his leg. So he was in a wheelchair directing this one.
Gosh.
Yeah, well done.
This is the story of Kirk the cheese wanker, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So, there's an Earth-style distress signal, and it's coming from a planet, but they're hundreds of light years from Earth, and it's identical to Earth. It's another Earth.
What are the chances, eh?
And then you get a picture of a globe. Because at this point, they haven't been to the moon. They don't know what Earth looks like from space. So there's no clouds on it. It is literally just like one of them globes you had in a classroom. And I'm surprised they don't press a button and light it up.
In the special edition version of this, they introduced CGI clouds over the Earth. So.
Right. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with the idea that if you travel far enough out, you might find other M-class planets. But the exact same configuration of continents, fuck off.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah. In the script, it's referred to as being Earth 2.
.net, the show.
Yes, paging Mr. Mike Sims. Yeah, several spin-off novels have tried to explain its existence, but in their infinite wisdom, they never bothered explaining anything in this episode.
Yeah. So, that's your teaser. And then you've got some fuckturd on comms who isn't a Uhura.
Yep.
And he reminds me of the squeaky voiced teen in The Simpsons.
Bit old for that, really.
Yeah, but he's got a really big Adam's apple and his voice is a bit annoying.
I think this was Lieutenant Farrell, Jim Goodwin.
Right.
Yes, he was friends of executive producer John D.F. Black. And when the exec left, so Farrell lost his...
But he should be in red if Uhura wears red.
Yes, it doesn't... I don't know. It's a budget-saving measure, no doubt, but yeah.
Yeah, but he should be in red. I understand that you're not going to have Uhura be the only person on comms ever.
Yeah.
You've got to have somebody else. I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with the fact that this guy is not in red.
Mm.
See, you're rubbing off on me. I'm getting obsessed by the uniforms.
Rightly so.
So they beam down to the planet, and it looks like maybe it's the gangster lot from Paramount.
Yeah, it is the backlot.
Yeah. Spock says it's the 1960s. I don't know how he gets that impression.
Yeah, exactly. Those cars aren't 1960s.
No.
They're a lot older, aren't they?
Yeah, they look 20s to me.
Well, no, they're not as old as that, but yeah.
Well, okay, but the point is, I don't see where he's getting the 1960s
No,
from.
bizarre, isn't it?
It turns out to be an automated distress signal, that's fine. And then you get this strange sentence from McCoy, which I love, which is that this is the most horrible conglomeration of antique architecture I've ever seen, which I like.
Yes.
It does look quite terrible. McCoy examines an old sort of bike thing.
Tricycle. Yeah, it's a kid's tricycle.
Oh, okay, and then a tramp shouts, "Mine!" which makes me think of Nemo. Mine, mine, mine,
It's
mine,
it's
mine.
not Tramp. This is Boy Creature, as he's credited in the script.
Really? He just looks like a tramp. He's got Wurzel Gummidge hair.
He's played by Ed McCready, who crops up a lot in Vincent McKevity stories.
Right.
Last time we saw him, he was being tortured by the neural neutralizer on Pantless 5. I think the makeup's pretty good. It's nicely freaky.
Yeah, I'm not so keen on it on him. Like, I prefer the earlier makeup. So when it's at this advanced stage, I'm not that much of a fan of it. But at the
it's
earlier
pretty
stages,
freaky.
I do like it.
Well, it's just like blisters, the early stages, whereas this is like properly messed up, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it, personally. I mean, it's not as bad as... it did make me think a bit of that Doctor Who episode where they put Rice Krispies on the faces. It's not as bad as that, but that's unfortunately where my brain went. But it may well have been something that looks an awful lot better on a smaller telly. You know, we're looking at it on a big telly.
I looked at it before. It felt fine.
Oh, fair enough. I don't think it was terrible. I just wasn't a fan. Anyway, they have a fight. And then, what was they? Boy Creature?
Yes.
Boy Creature has a seizure.
Yeah.
Then he says he doesn't want any help, and then he dies. Except
Yeah.
he's still breathing, but apparently he's dead.
And if this was Doctor Who, he would crumble into dust.
He would.
Or green goo would ooze out him in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah, one or the other. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's fair. And they don't understand what's going on, but then they hear noises, so they go into another building, and there they find a child in a cupboard. And she's crying, and she's like, don't hurt me.
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
And so I've got to find something good in this somehow. I'm going to keep trying songs until one of them's good enough.
So this is Kim Darby as Miri, who was aged 19 when filming.
She's not prepubescent. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, she had to wear a loose dress to try and cover her figure, but it doesn't completely work.
It's not just that. It's her face is clearly not the face of a prepubescent child.
But the point is that if a younger child wouldn't have been able to act so well, that's the balance they tried.
No. Actually, there are plenty of children who can act. There are quite a lot that can't, but there are plenty that can. Think about Drew Barrymore in E.T. How old was she? 6?
Mm-hmm.
Right, she could act. They do exist, competent child actors.
There are just not very many of them around, so this was the only one they could get hold of.
I don't agree. I think it's the same as...
Well, but they would have hired a younger actor if they were able to act as well. But that was...
No, I disagree. I think they didn't even try in the same way as
How do you know? Were you there?
Because of the culture at the time. There was a thing, and it lasted for a really long time, about hiring adults to play children rather than trying to hire child actors.
There is a more egregious example later on, so, She was also in the original True Grit as the central child character in that, Matty Ross. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and The X-Files a bit later on, needless to say, to mention a few. So a long career, which doesn't always happen to child actors.
No. Well, she's not a child in this. She's an adult. She's 19.
But yeah, very glass accent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Kirk decides that he's going to stay with her. Ugh.
Yeah.
Sends Spock to take readings. Now, that makes sense.
Well-
Spock is the science officer. Go out, do your science, find out, take some readings. Fine.
What doesn't make sense is the way he takes his readings with the tricorder pointed away from him. It's like, how can he see anything? He's operating all the controls upside down. I mean, I know why he's doing it, so the camera can see it, but it doesn't make any sense practically.
Oh, I don't know. And then Miri is talking about grups, which Rand works out is grown-ups. They got sick and died of some kind of plague, and only the children are left. Spock is outside taking his readings. He hears movement, calls the guards, and then a whole load of children go, nah, 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 nah. And you think, oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. This is going to be great, isn't it?
It's a bit weird, isn't it, guards? I mean, later on it'd be security, wouldn't it? I mean, what are they supposed to be guarding?
Bodyguards, I presume.
Yeah, I suppose, but Yeah, later on there'd be security, which
Yeah,
makes
it makes
a lot
more sense,
yeah.
but yeah. And then you get Kirk being a cheese wanker and saying how pretty Miri is. Oh.
Yeah. And doubles down with very pretty at that as well. It's like, oh, really? Maybe this was acceptable back then, but even then I would hope it wasn't.
Yeah. And then he does this awful thing where he raises her chin and just that's just wrong. That's just really
And introduces himself to her by his first name as well.
That was
Jim. It's like,
was common at the time. That
Captain Jim, I think you'll find.
No,
I mean it's just you place distance by saying, being professional and being my name's Captain Kirk. You don't go, my name's Jim.
Well, I'm not saying you do this now necessarily, but there was a school of thought, and there may still be a school of thought, that if you're trying to befriend a child and not seem like a threat, particularly if they see adults as a threat, then you make the relationship more equal by either both using first names or both using titles.
Yes, but as soon as you start making the relationship more equal, it gets icky. That's the problem.
Well,
That's why I'm reacting against it.
No. In Kirk's case, yes, but it doesn't have to. It is perfectly possible to have a relationship that is more equal and not at all icky. If he didn't say she was pretty...
I don't think there is with that sort of age, theoretical age gap, because we know actually the actor's quite a bit older,
if what he was trying to do is befriend her, but platonically, so he didn't say she was pretty, he didn't touch her in any way, shape or form, there might be a way of engaging in dialogue and saying this is and doing it on first name terms. It's theoretically possible, and I think that some, for example, social workers, introduce themselves on their first name. I think there are professionals who do that in contexts where they know the child fears adults.
I still really badly react against it.
I think what I'm saying is I'm thinking you're reacting against it because of the previous lines of
No.
so pretty.
Literally, I would never introduce myself to a child by my first name. That just would feel wrong to me.
And in most contexts that you're involved in, that's appropriate. I'm just saying that if you're specifically trying, bearing in mind there aren't any social workers in the away team, if you're particularly trying to befriend a child who's frightened of adults, that might be a way that you might do it, but not while also calling them pretty and touching them. That's just... Ugh. But as a result of the whole hideous raised chin thing, which is just all kinds of wrong, he sees that he's got a mark on him. He's got the blue lurgy. And it turns out that they've all got it except for Spock. And you get this comment, doesn't like you. There's a disadvantage to being red-blooded. It's something to do with Vulcan blood. I mean... We don't know that it's got anything to do with blood, but the idea that because Spock is part Vulcan, it doesn't affect him in the same way is logical.
Yeah, that's fine.
Apparently it spreads really, really fast. They're going to get equipment beamed down, and then they're going to be in communication with the ship. So they're going to do studies here with equipment and then give the data to the Enterprise and use the Enterprise's computers to analyse it. This all makes sense. They're not going to beam people down because of the plague. Now, at one point you get a line, I think it's a bit later, but I don't understand it. How does Spock know he's a carrier?
Well, he's been working on his laptop, which is a really clunky bit of 1960s proppage, which makes very weird noises.
It does.
But yes, presumably that's one of the discoveries he's made as a result of using that machine.
Fair enough. Then you get this horrible thing of, people saying that Miri likes Jim and she's becoming a woman. It's just like, oh, fuck off. They postulate that it's to do with, the disease is to do with glandular changes and that children aren't affected, but you go through puberty and that's the point at which you are affected. And they discover some notes on life prolongation which suggest that people age 1 month for every 100 years. So they're children, but they've been alive for like 300 years.
Yeah.
The virus, they work out, annihilates adults very quickly. It spreads quickly, brings on a whole load of other symptoms. You get aggressive as part of it, and then you die. And so a child entering puberty is a death sentence.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I like that concept. That's interesting. It's just surrounded by all sorts of ickiness, basically.
Yeah, in a way that just wasn't necessary.
No.
So apparently, if you enter puberty, you're going to start getting the marks and, you're going to die. But then the kids are led by a blatant adult.
Yep, he's 27-year-old Michael J. Pollard. Do you recognise him at all?
I thought I did, but I didn't. I hate his character, and he's not a child, and I was just so angry. I thought I'd probably recognise you, but I I don't know where from. I'm too angry to know.
Probably most recently, we've seen him in Tango and Cash.
Really?
Yes, he's kind of like the gadget man for them. They're Q, effectively.
Okay.
He's also in Dick Tracy, Bug Bailey. Herman in Scrooged, although you don't like that one, do you? So it's been a bit longer since you've seen that. He was in the original Lost in Space. He was in Brandon. The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. Yes, that was a thing. The Girl from U.N.C.L.E.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, it ran for 29 episodes apparently in 1967.
Wow.
And he was perfect casting for 1989 Superboy series. As well, I can never pronounce this guy's name, but that's kind of the point of the character, Mr. Mazik. Yes, he's the whole point of the character is you can't pronounce his name, and you can only make him go away by pronouncing his name.
Right.
Yes, but he does look like the character as he appears in the comics, so that was good casting.
Right.
And he did some voiceover work for
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders.
Remember that?
No.
No, that was big in the 90s.
Right.
He's still working at the age of 80, bless him. So
Are they still casting him as a fucking
no,
child?
no, none of those roles were child roles. Quite how they decided that he looked like a child in it. So
Like
he
I said,
blatantly doesn't.
It was a thing at the time and it went on for ages in the US, longer than it went on in the UK, that you cast adults as children because you didn't trust child actors. I mean, sometimes you can understand it. Look at Jake Lloyd in The Phantom Menace.
Yes, exactly.
But that was George Lucas. I can remember an interview with him saying that, he didn't like all the ones who supposedly could act. He liked this guy, this kid that he could mould and shape. And it's like, no, you can't mould and shape anything, you fucking twat. That's why it didn't work. It might have worked with a better director.
Not with Jake Lloyd, it wouldn't have done it before.
Well, but...
The whole problem with the prequel series is that it starts with Anakin way too young.
Yes.
Screws the whole thing up. But never mind.
It wouldn't matter if he was a background character in it, as very young. But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts wrong with the prequels. Because prequels...
No, really? I didn't.
No, but a lot of it is just because they're prequels. They were on a
Some of
sticky
it is,
wicket.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't like it.
I mean, when you think how good Rebels is, and that's a prequel series, technically.
True. I think it's a combination of prequels of the same characters. Prequels involving different characters can work. Anyway, where have I got to before I give up and just want to kill everybody? Yeah, they do. There's another kid who's clearly not a fucking kid. He's got a face like a horse.
No, I think he is, actually.
Bearing in mind they're all supposed to be...
Bonk kid, isn't it?
Yeah, bearing in mind they're all supposed to be prepubescent. He might be technically a child, but he's definitely not prepubescent.
I think he may have been, actually.
Really, with those teeth?
I know, bless him.
So they're supposed to be all prepubescent kids. Now, largely they are. They are younger kids.
Including both of William Shatner's daughters.
They're hidden away in this toy shop. Again, logical place for kids to go. And then they're all there and they're playing around and they get attacked by a teenage witch. Oh, she's not really a witch, but she looks a bit witchy. The way her hair's gone and, clearly she's hit puberty and she just goes and attacks them all. And Kirk's there because he's found the Miri's shown him where they are, and he uses his phaser and it's only set to stun, but it kills her.
Yeah, and it also it looks completely different to how a phaser normally fires and
Yeah,
sounds
doesn't it
completely
look right?
different as well. So don't quite know what setting he was using there.
No. So let's find out who plays Horseface Boy.
Right, I think that's John Megner. Yes, that's John Megner. Oh my heavens, the poor chap died at the age 42. That's sad. He was born in 52, so yeah, he was very young when this was filmed. 1960... I want to say 66? 66.
So he was 14, so he wasn't prepubescent.
Okay, technically, but he's still clearly a kid, okay? 14 is a kid. That's not a teenager, really, is it?
14, it's got teen on it.
Yeah, I know, but it's not what you think.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as the 27-year-old. That's
exactly.
But it's not prepubescent. Given the plot of this is all about prepubescent kids, they all should have been about 10, really. They all should have been a lot younger.
Anyway, Spock has figured out how long before the away team goes mad. They have a week, which is very neat.
Yeah, but it's also very scary, isn't it? You've only got a week to live.
He also points out that he can't beam up to the ship as, despite being unaffected by the disease, he's a carrier. They don't have to resort to a fault with the transporters this week, at least, which is something.
And they hadn't at this point come up with the idea of beaming everybody up and as a result curing them.
Yes, exactly, yeah. McCoy finds the formula for the disease so they can get going on finding an antidote.
Which is great.
But then we hear the kids chanting, which is a distraction to enable Jan to steal the away team's communicators, which they foolishly left behind.
Oh, because they haven't got any fucking pockets. That's what it is.
Very professional. Apparently food is also running short, as are their tempers.
Well, that makes sense. If there's no adults, who's farming?
Yep. And Rand freaks out as she's getting diseased as well. She admits that she used to try and get the captain to look at her legs. Again, very professional. Miri sees Kirk hug Rand and gets all jealous, and she goes to the kids to get them to help to kidnap the yeoman. There's much talk of them bonking the adults, not like that. Oh yes, John Megner apparently went on to appear in the Cannonball Run and Smoking the Bandit.
Wow.
Yes. We get this episode's dose of shacting as Kirk stresses about Rand going missing.
Fucking hell, this is just...
That scene goes on forever as well, as he's haranguing the kids, and it's like, boring.
Yeah.
McCoy has a potential cure, but can't test it without checking with a ship. Otherwise, as Spock dramatically says, it could be a beaker full of death, which is the name of my metal band.
Yep.
Kirk points out that Miri has now contracted the disease. She takes Kirk to the kids and Rand. There's much blah, 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 and yeah, in response to the captain trying to tell them the truth.
Oh no, just fucking shoot them all!
And then the bonking starts, so to speak, before Kirk gets through to them, tossing John's friend down from a table, not like that. Which seems a bit OTT for the young actor, even if he is 14. At one point, he picks up a young girl who's played by Shatner's daughter, Elizabeth, who went on to write the making-of book for Star Trek V. Oh, yes. His other daughter, Leslie, also plays one of the children, as do Grace Lee Whitney's sons. Nimoy was asked to include his kids too, but said he didn't want them involved in showbiz, which is kind of ironic, considering Adam Nimoy went on to direct 2 Next Generation episodes.
Yeah, and For the Love of Spock.
Yep. McCoy goes ahead with testing the vaccine despite the danger. It's nice he gets to be the hero, effectively, rather than Kirk.
Also, I can understand why he does it. Yeah. He's the oldest, so he's the one that's gonna.
Yep. And that, the death is so imminent. He's got nothing to lose. Really.
Yeah, he hasn't, and he may as well. It's like, how long are you going to wait? If he dies before the vaccine, it's kind of like a wasted opportunity. So yes, he's taking a huge risk, but I completely understand why he does it.
They do a great time lapse as McCoy's blemishes fade.
It's really good for the time. It's a brilliant effect, isn't it?
I mean, poor DeForest Kelly must have kept still for so long.
Oh, bloody hell. How long was he there?
Yeah. Randy's understandably concerned when they leave orbit about leaving the children behind. But it's all right, because they're 300 years old, Kirk says.
Yeah, but no.
Did they seem like that level of maturity?
No. Again, who's farming and they're not going to run out of food? He does say they're bringing teachers. Now, that's a start, but he doesn't say they're bringing farmers, does he? Or they have replicators-ish, but not as we know them in Next Gen.
No.
I'm not entirely sure how that technology works, to be honest.
No.
But they don't mention engineers, do they?
Nope. Ram points out that Miri really loved Kirk, and he quips that he never gets involved in older women.
Oh, God, this is just wrong. This is just
vomiting. Down
vomiting, juicing. Fuck off, you cheese wanker.
His story was only shown by the BBC once until the 1990s, as it was felt to deal unsympathetically with madness. Yeah, because that's the problem with this episode. It was also heavily cut for repeats in the US. I'm not a fan of shows with kids in, so this was never going to be a favourite, even if some of the kids are 27.
Oh, God.
And the fact that they never explain the identical Earth. I mean, that's like set up at the start and then completely forgotten. All it is just a cheap way of using a backlot. Terrible.
And the thing is, it doesn't even need to be. You think about the plot, all it needs to be is an M-class planet. There's no reason it needs to be apparently identical.
Earth-like
is fine. Yeah. That's
but
all it
not
needs to
a
be.
Copy of Earth.
No.
That's just cheap.
And it's not explained, and it's wrong, and there are annoying kids in it, and I hate adults cast as kids. It drives me fucking nuts.
I'm to be honest, I'm not great for the kids cast as kids, so this was never going to work.
Adults cast as kids tends to annoy me more because the adults should know better. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you expect more of them, and then they're still shit anyway. And it's just Kirk, the fucking paedophile.
Oh, he does not come across well in this, does he? No.
And I know loads of people are all like, oh, but Kirk doesn't really shag all these women, and Kirk's nice, really. Watch this episode and change your mind.
Yeah, he's very slimy in this.
It's horrible, horrible. Left a nasty taste in my mouth. That's why I'm drinking more beer.
Yeah.
This was worse than the weird as fuck roast beef with gravy pizza I mistakenly ate for my lunch.
I've had a roast beef pizza by mistake. Apparently it's one of Jason Isaac's favourite episodes, though, so go figure. Hey, well.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's find out everybody else was similarly repulsed.
Yes. Or did they not react the same as us and we're just odd?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Nope. We've heard from Boss, who starts with, I must apologise as I appear not to have given this one my full attention. Since I'm left with a few questions that hopefully you can have answered in your podcast. Probably not.
Which depends what they are.
Why was the planet a replica of Earth?
Yeah, no, that's never answered.
No. Why, when the planet was such a mystery, did they beam down without any protective clothing? No.
They never beam down with protective clothing. That's it. That's just...
Didn't we see some kind of space suity thing? At
We
some point?
had those isolation suits in the Naked Now Forever.
Yeah,
whichever
they
one that is.
exist.
But they never wear them again, I don't think. Because they were made of shower curtains, possibly. They realised that did bugger all protection.
Why did Yeoman Rand join the away team? I don't know, but why not?
Yes, I mean, that's the other thing, is, she's joined away teams before now. This will be...
Second or possibly third? She's
Yeah.
definitely joined before.
But I think this will be this may be her last episode.
Okay. Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah.
What a shit episode to have as your last. Why were Spock and the security guards unable to locate the children, despite having tricorders whose main function is to scan for life signs?
Yes, that's true.
Right. If everybody in the planet died after puberty, why did the leader of the Onlys appear to be in his 20s? He was nearly fucking 30. If the communicators were so vital, why did no one take them with them?
Exactly,
Lack of
yeah.
pockets.
No, just hold it in your hand, though. That's the thing. All three of them left their communicators on the desk. And it's like, duh.
Yes, it's the man who leaves his glasses at random places around the house at regular intervals.
Yeah.
How did two red-shirted security men beam down to the planet and not die?
Yeah, no,
What
nobody
is
dies
their
in this.
secret?
Well, that's not true. Some of the older kids die as a result of the disease, but yeah. None of the Enterprise crew.
Where were Scotty and Sulu again?
Yeah.
And Uhura.
And Uhura, for that matter, yes.
I'll try to pay more attention next time. You lucked out if you didn't pay full attention to this pile of shit. But next time might be a better episode. We'll come on to that later. Thank you, boss.
Here you are. So yes, this is Grace Lee Whitney's final episode. In her autobiography, she says she was sexually assaulted by a studio executive, which led her deep into alcohol dependence and getting the sack.
Was the executive Gene Roddenberry by any chance?
No, studio executive rather than a producer, so there you are.
Okay.
Anyways, either way, it was the 60s. That's more than possible, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Yes. And whether or not it was that or alcohol or whatever, it's a shame we lose her, as the series is light on women characters, and when she's got it's even more light, isn't it?
Yeah, and I like her character.
Roddenberry claimed he yielded to studio pressure to write her out because they wanted a succession of potential love interests for Kirk, but that doesn't sound very likely, does it, really?
No, more likely that, given what Roddenberry was like, he was mate with the person who abused her, believed him over her.
Possibly. Our lawyers couldn't possibly say. I don't think you can libel the dead, can you? So we're all right.
Yep.
Anyway. Yes, boss, it makes no sense. They don't answer any of the key questions there.
No.
Hey-ho. And it wouldn't have been a problem had they not set this whole parallel Earth thing up in the first place. But they just said it's an Earth-like planet. That's
all it
fine.
needs. That's all
I mean,
it needs.
admittedly, they would have had to explain the alphabet that was on all the buildings, but yeah, I suppose that would have been an issue. But never mind.
Yeah, well, they could just, mash it up slightly or something. I don't know.
Mash it up. Is that a technical term?
Yeah, I've had beer. I needed it after this fucking shit.
We've heard from the God of Llamas.
Longest log, Scotty, Fickazy, Jake, Ark. Marry him or marry me. I'm the one you're living, baby. Can't you see? Right, yes, so an episode in which the landing party beams down, contracts a virus, and then has to quarantine without being able to return to the ship or see anyone they know or care about or have access to the equipment they need. Yeah, this isn't cutting too close to the bone, is it? Oh, well, at least we're all free now, yeah? Right? But yes, that aside, this is a strange story, really. Okay, there's some troubling aspects to it, which I'll get to in a moment, but in terms of this being a science fictional story, it's certainly an odd one, and whilst it has some basic concepts that are potentially interesting, it's so weirdly put together that it just feels a bit slight and doesn't really make an impact, and could have been done a bit better, really, aside from not having all the really creepy stuff, of course. So yeah, in terms of first, this is the first location shooting Star Trek, I think. I don't remember anything else. This is the first time I've not been studio bound anyway, of course. Of all the wonders in the universe, of all the places they could boldly go, they go to Earth to show the wonders of randomness and probability and how in the infinite anything is possible, and not just because it's cheapest to shoot on the Paramount backlot where they've got some old buildings going or something. Yeah, that's definitely it. And that's the first odd aspect of the story. We actually have a parallel evolution Earth, and not just an Earth-like planet. This is actually Earth. The continents are the same and everything. And that whole idea isn't really explored in the story at all. It just provides a background. And yeah, sure, that was 60s TV at the time. They need justification for going to the Paramount backlot. But I find it odd that that becomes such a throwaway thing. It's like they don't really bother. But then again, they did accidentally invent time travel the other week and then did nothing with it. So yeah, I guess this is kind of fitting, isn't it? And then later in the episode, they discover that the central mystery to this story is that the Grups that used to live on this planet were trying to basically create immortality, and they found a way, except that it had a very slight side effect of killing everyone who was an adult, and Bones saves them and basically creates immortality accidentally. And again, this is something that we never see mentioned again in the Star Trek universe. Spoilers, although, you know, obviously been watching other series. That is just such a weirdness. You'd have thought they'd have made a bigger deal of that as well. But I guess, again, this is Star Trek of the 60s. This was a story of the week kind of series. There were no threads or arcs or anything, so yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. But it is very strange, isn't it? And it's also slightly disappointing in the fact that now that I've realised that this happens, I've got to let Star Trek Into Darkness off the hook of doing something very similar and equally unforgivable. So I guess at least they were following in Star Trek's footsteps there, maybe. Yeah, I think I'm kind of reaching for a bit there. But yeah, so there's definitely some interesting ideas there. You know, what are the kids going to do? Apparently they can forage for 300 years. Yeah, I don't see that going very well. I mean, Christ, look at what's happening here. With supermarket shelves becoming empty within a matter of days, and then the whole country going feral because they can't find toilet paper. Yeah, as children would cope better. I don't think so, I don't know. Although maybe, you know, they have not to have the common sense that adults have, so maybe they would do better. Who knows? But of course, the problematic aspect of this episode is the relationship that Kirk has with Miri. In some respects, or if this has been played in a certain way, you could see it as being a kind of sweet relationship between the two of them, with Miri obviously idolising Kirk, and with Kirk in return being more of a paternal character who doesn't return her advances or anything. But the way it's played here is slightly creepier than that, and that's what makes it just more than a little problematic. Yes, you could argue that Kirk is kind of playing her because he needs her to help him figure out what's going on the planet and to get in with the children, but really it just comes across as he's being very creepy and grooming her, really, and that's not so great, is it? Especially given that the episode ends with all the characters back safely on the bridge, because of course it does, with Rand pointing out to Kirk that Miri actually loved him. And the episode closes with Kirk with a smug look on his face, as if to say, right then, I'm off for a quick wank. Which begs two questions. One, was that the vibe he was actually going with? I mean, I know it's the 60s, but I mean, come on. And two, he doesn't have a ready room. He wasn't going to do that on the bridge, was he? In the turbo lift? Okay, let's not dwell on that one, perhaps. Let's not dwell on that one. So, yeah, a bit of a mismatch of things this episode. So there's potentially some good ideas here. The execution is just more than a little off. Whether, of course, you enjoy the kids or not is up to you, but the chanting of I'm sure would get irritating to absolutely everyone. But on the other hand, at least when Shatner comes in and overacts, they do have the decency to try and beat him to death. So, you know, swings and roundabouts there, swings and roundabouts. And very weirdly, the episode seems to forget that there are two security guards that beam down with them as well. About 2/3 of the way into the episode, I suddenly remembered they were meant to be there, and I was wondering if I'd zoned out and just missed a part of the episode where they got killed off or something. But no, right at the end, a security guard makes his reappearance again. So, yeah, that's just weird that they were written off. I mean, maybe the actors just weren't available, or maybe they're just outside having a really long pee for about 5-6 days. Very strange. So, yeah, a definite curiosity of an episode. As I say, some great ideas, but with ever so slightly creepy overtones which kind of throw the whole thing off, unfortunately. Bit of a shame that this is where we're leaving things, but at least on the other hand, with moving to lower decks next time, it won't be that problematic, or maybe it will be just in a slightly different way, or at least I hope it is. So, as ever, I'm looking forward to hearing whether everyone else was as creeped out of this as I was. I hope everyone's doing well now that apparently it's okay to go out in public without fear of ending up covered in unconvincing purple blotches, and until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Yeah, there's no way any sort of Star Trek would do this sort of story now, is there? So,
No.
and certainly not lower decks, thankfully. Ugh.
No.
But you're right about the security guards.
Yeah, where did they go?
Sprog 2 was like, oh, I forgot about them as they turned
Yeah.
up towards the end.
Yeah, and I do hope he wasn't wanking in the turbo lift.
Oh, don't.
It's just all kinds of wrong. And even if you argue that he's playing her because he needs information, it's still wrong. It's still horrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is the only correct response to all that shacting is let's beat the shit out of this person. I can understand that. And yeah, if one of the guards was, having a massive stream of piss outside, it was just his comment on this episode, wasn't it, really?
But on the other hand, no, they haven't invented immortality. McCoy has overcome this disease that was supposed to give immortality, but, it made them live longer, but the downside was it meant that when they hit puberty, they then went crazy and died.
And it's all best left alone,
Yes.
so let's not go there.
Yes, so he managed to find the cure for that. So no longer will people live for hundreds of years and then go mad. So it's not an immortality thing anymore.
What did Drew and Tracy make of this one? Is Drew going to say it's classic, even though it's clearly a pile of jizz stain?
We're about to find out.
So that was TOS Miri.
Yes.
And what do we think of that one then?
Well, I've been saying on every single other episode, this is a classic episode of Star Trek. This was not a classic episode of Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awful, really.
Kind of go that far. Let's go through some points.
Okay.
So it was good to see that they initially beamed down onto the Paramount lot.
Yep, we always like that.
Which was like completely fake in the background.
Yep.
When they first beamed down.
Yep.
Why was the yeoman on the away mission?
You know what?
She is a yeoman.
She is a yeoman, and also it looked really weird because all the guys had like either phasers or tricorders in their hands. She had nothing.
She had nothing.
Especially when she's running around, just kind of like arms down.
So what was she
Looked
there
weird.
for?
I don't know, but give her a phaser or something.
Well, exactly.
Where was Uhura?
Exactly.
Scotty?
Sulu.
As a riser on a weekend off.
They were obviously on like a bender.
Yep.
And that guy who was standing in for Uhura, I can't even say that.
Uhura. Yeah, we've seen him before at the con, haven't we?
Yeah, but he is obviously not suited for that earpiece.
No.
Because Uhura wears it quite stylishly.
Yeah, she looks great, but he did not.
It looked wrong. So we need to talk about the fact that Kirk was being a bit of a nasty...
I thought you were going to say another word begin with N then.
Nasty older man. When he was talking to Miri and he was saying about, oh, you're so pretty.
How you doing?
How you doing?
I know,
We were
he's
just
channeling
like,
the Gary Glitters, isn't he?
That was really creepy.
I'd like to say it's not creepy because she's meant to be 300 years, but I'm sorry.
No.
It's just...
It was...
Maybe it was okay in the 60s,
He
but
was
it's
talking
just in
to
space year 2021, it's not great.
He was talking to a little girl and he was just being like... You could see him almost like... You know, stroking his waxed moustache.
Let's just move on from this. It's awful. It's one of the things that makes this episode awful.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Yarn.
Yarn,
who again is like at least 25. But he's
Star
supposed
Trek
to
has
be
got a
kid.
history. Yeah, he's got a history of whenever they have kids, they always have like older people playing kids. And I mean, the guy's got male pattern baldness starting, hasn't he?
But that's fine. But he's still fucking older than
Same
like
as Miri. They're
10.
meant to be kids, aren't they? But they're not. They're clearly not kids.
But it was as soon as we saw him, I was like, oh, that's the guy from Scrooged.
Yes.
So it was kind of good to see a lot of kind of familiar faces.
Yep.
In this one, I have to say the pencil sharpener.
You like the pencil sharpener?
I loved it. I was like, oh my god! I
ages.
can remember being in primary school and having one of those like pencil sharpeners
Yeah.
on like the wall and like being there for about an hour going, who wants a pencil sharpener? I love it.
Anyway, enough about the pencil sharpening.
I cannot. I'm going to need to buy one.
Yep.
I'm going to need to buy one. So when the kids, in closed brackets, came through the vents and they nicked all the communicators.
Yes.
I was like shouting at the TV screen, why would you fucking leave all your communicators on their desk? And then, obviously, they get pinched. And then Bones is like, oh, it's the only way we can do our scientific experiments now. Well, then they're obviously like vital equipment. Why would you fucking leave them unattended?
I know. It's a bit of a schoolboy error.
Oh, dear me. So it's really good to see John Manga in this, who is Dill Harris from my favourite film and book, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, there's lots of famous people in this.
I loved it. Yeah. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, I know you.
Yep.
And it was really, really good to see someone from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yep.
I didn't mind it. as I always say, I come to these very kind of like fresh and new. You're like, I've seen so many. This is shit.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's shit, but it's not a great episode. There's no two ways about it.
Kirk was really
creepy
ass-tastic in
I
this.
can just move past that and just say, okay, it's what people did in like them days. You know, older man and a younger girl, and she's not a girl, she's 300 or whatever. But I don't know, just that the episode doesn't work.
No, I just think it's all kinds of wrong.
Not great.
All kinds of wrong.
Yep.
Anyway, should we leave it there?
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie, guys. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, bye. We finally found one that isn't a classic.
Yes, we. And yeah, what I don't have a problem with Rand beaming down, but you're right. She should have something in her hand.
That would be, helpful. Obviously.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's a tricorder or a face. It doesn't matter what it is, but she should beam down with a tool of some description, surely. And yes, it is very nasty, and Kirk is channeling the Gary Glitters, and it's not at all right. Not bad for the age, guess. 27 to 25. Male pattern baldness, though. It's just, it's just terrible. But I hadn't spotted that, but for me, I spotted it. I've been able to spot it for quite some time in terms of the way people's faces are. So do you remember Beverly Hills 90210? I bet Tracy watched it. Anyway, in that, it was supposed to be like, people in their late teens, and the actors were over 30, and you just fucking knew. And I did also like those pencil sharpeners.
Yeah.
But me being me, I experimented with sharpening things other than pencils to see what would happen.
Don't want to know. But I remember later on in the school, some of the teachers had automatic ones of those. Because most of them you had to sort of turn the handle. But later on they were like plug-in ones.
Yeah,
they were so cool.
It was particularly fun with red ink cartridges because you could pretend that something awful had happened.
Oh no. And we've heard from Purry.
Hello Args, Purry here to talk about Miri. This one's kind of an odd one. I say that a lot. This one, to be honest, one of its biggest crimes, I have to say, is I find this one quite dull, and it shouldn't be. For starters, the fact that they find a planet not just a bit like Earth or Earth-like, but like a complete copy of Earth, should be the plot. They found it's got continents, everything, and basically it's like Earth just in, they said the 1960s, but obviously this had gone wrong 300 years before. Maybe not quite that long, but, it had been frozen. They said, but they did say it was a very similar, it was Earth, same continent, same landmass, same size, same shape and everything. And I kind of feel that should have been the story, but that kind of got forgotten when they beamed down and found a weird virus and it was full of children. Annoying kids at that. Kids are usually annoying, and particularly American kids of the 1960s could be particularly precocious. I really didn't like that Bam Bam kid. We do get to see Shatner getting beaten up by small children for a bit. There's that. And I liked the makeup effect for the virus, the kind of weird blue lesions. I thought were quite neat, but just... this one just doesn't seem to go anywhere. There's not... they try to put tension into it, but basically it's Spock typing numbers into a computer and McCoy looking at stuff. And, aside from that, they wander... It's quite eerie when they're wandering around the abandoned city. And, it was just them using the lot that was there on set. I'm guessing that's like part of the Paramount Studio lot or whatever it was. And it was them just making use of it, and I thought that was good. And, the old makeup, the people who'd gone rapidly old looked a bit shonky, but it is the 1960s, so I will give that a certain amount of benefit. To me, it was just, like I say, so much of the episode was just kind of them standing about. It was Rand losing her shit for some reason because she was going to die of horrible lesions. And I think, again, this is, were they trying to do a Rand-Kirk relationship? Because, it really doesn't work. And, and then you've got, or was that just to get the jealous Miri plot line because she'd impressioned, and admittedly because he was keeping her distracted by making her sharpen pencils for him. It's just weird stuff, and I don't know if this is like it was one plot idea that got seeded into another, or something weird happened in the scripting stage. But like I say, I just found this one largely unengaging. It was them meandering around the city or doing science, and then having to deal with an army of annoying kids. Actually, the army of annoying kids appeared a lot later than I remembered. I thought they were a bigger part, but again, they seem to appear later on in the episode. And yeah, and then at the end it's kind of, well, I almost wanted to see at the end, like, oh well, yes, don't worry, there's teachers, truant officers, ha 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 ha, yes, they'll get those kids and, put them into some good care. Like, that's good, because there's some kids who've got 300 years of neglect there, so that's going to be something. And I think Kirk makes the older woman pun, and yeah, that's creepy as hell. But as they're flying off, I thought at some point you should hear someone go, "Oh bollocks, we were meant to check out the fact that it's exactly like Earth. Turn the ship around," because to me that should be the plot of this one, and I think that bothered me more than last time. Last time I was just bothered by the fact that it was kind of dull. This time I was actually bothered by the by the Earth thing. Oh, and do you think Spock deliberately left that vaccine? No, Dr. McCoy, you can't try out this vaccine. It needs more testing. I'm now just going to leave it really prominently and wander out the room for a bit to, I don't know, look at this doorknob. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Spock's really capable of that deviousness, but you never know. So yeah, a bit of a weak one to temporarily leave the original series for, but we're coming to Lower Decks after this, so I hope to feedback for the Lower Decks episode. Hopefully I'll try to get my feedback in on time, or my usual 1 week late. But all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I do always enjoy the podcast, and like I said, I will be feeding back when you cover Lower Decks, but until then, bye for now.
Bye! Yeah, that's a point. Do you think, given Spock and McCoy and their relationship, how much Spock knows McCoy, was it deliberate, do you think, that Spock left it blatantly out, knowing that that's what McCoy would do?
No, I think he looked suitably shocked as he came rushing back in, so... Yeah, the Rand and Kirk thing is supposedly the reason why they got rid of Rand, but yeah, I'm not buying that, I'm afraid.
No. And also, if they did, it's their fucking fault for writing it so shit, isn't it?
And yeah, the second Earth should have been the plot, shouldn't it? I mean,
yes!
It's quite apt for an
blatantly
explanation.
Should have been.
Yeah, madness. Hey, you sir.
Thank you.
So yes, as been mentioned, we're covering Lower Decks next, and there's plenty of time. Purry, don't worry, because we won't be recording our coverage of the first episode of Lower Decks until Tuesday the 24th, which, considering it's the 13th it comes out in this country, there's plenty of time for you to have watched it and given your feedback if you want to. And then we'll be covering 2 episodes every fortnight, basically, is the idea, so you've got plenty of time to watch and send back. I mean, this is all due to the fact we're on holiday when it premieres, because
that's what happens.
It's August, you idiots. God, I still can't get over that. Who brings out series in August? Apparently Paramount. Anyway.
Well, aren't even the US schools off and all?
Yeah, surely the people in Europe, well, except they're more virused up than us, so they presumably aren't on holiday. But anyway, it still seems madness to me.
Yes, because the cinemas do the things because that's when you go out, don't you? Because the kids are off school.
Yes, there's always a big summer movie, isn't there? But TV generally is just repeats,
the opposite,
isn't
usually,
it?
yeah.
But anyway, hey ho, we'll catch you for that. Until then, cheery bye.
Bye, boy.
Baby, don't hurt me no more.
The opening music for this podcast was provided by the talented Drew Barker.
The artwork was created by Andy Palastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Shut it down!